So let's look at a simple situation that can happen in a classroom. You're at the front of the classroom and you've just written something on the board, and as you turn you see a paper aeroplane perhaps, or something else flying across the room. So you know enough to know roughly which part of the room it came from. What do you do next? Obviously you're disappointed and you're upset that somebody has chosen to mock about in your class and undermine you to some extent in front of the other students. And it is possible at that moment that you feel anger, frustration, irritation, disappointment that children are letting you down. So there is a risk that you'll react rather than respond. Do you want to show that you're annoyed? Do you want to let the children see that they can wind you up? I would suggest not. Do you want to punish the whole class if you can't find out who is actually responsible? Is it likely that you will find out who's responsible if you ask the whole class, if you ask the group that clearly must know something about it in front of the whole class? Is it likely that you're going to get an answer? Or is it likely that you're going to lose face in front of the students? Do you really want to do that? I think not. Surely the teacher's role is to focus on learning. Therefore, disruption is not good. And while children will always be prone to do things which are not appropriate in the classroom and make mistakes, how the teacher reacts is a choice. And as I emphasize, it should be a response, a choice of response, not a choice of emotional reaction. So this is what I would suggest. I'd walk over to the corner of the room where the incident obviously originated, where the object must have been thrown from, and perhaps just say, I'd like to speak to you all at the end of the lesson. You 4 here, you 6 here, whichever it is. And then as the class is dismissed, having walked around a little bit, you'll see the importance of that later. Having walked around the classroom a few times, quietly talking to students, when the whole class is dismissed, you have that small group to talk to. If the incident happened close to the end of the lesson, you might deal with it straight away by just walking over to the small group. So what is the response? How do we speak to the group? Well, we begin by saying something like this. I'm going to ask you all a question individually, but before I do, a small warning, I may know more than you think I do. Ready? I'm going to ask each of you the same question. Don't answer until I ask you, starting with you on the left, or David, or whatever the person's name is, Sarah, whatever. I then begin. Answer this question with a yes or a no. Do not say anything else, a simple yes or no. Have you any knowledge about the aeroplane that was thrown, such as who threw it, who made it, whose piece of paper it came from? If you know anything, I want to know now. Yes or no? Which is it? You either get an answer yes, which allows you to progress, or you get an answer no. After you've gone through all the students in the group, you may have all no's, in which case you have no resolution. Is that a problem? No, it's not a problem, because all you have to then say is, well, it is clear to me that somebody in this group has been responsible for throwing the plane. At this point, I might then say, if I don't get an answer to my question, and nobody admits what's gone on, then I will obviously have to wonder, can I trust you again? I'll have to take some action, which will probably mean changing the seating plan, moving you to a place where I can see you more clearly. However, if anybody answers the question and tells me what's happened, admits throwing it, for example, I will simply ask them not to do it again, and that'll be the end of the matter. So I asked again, has anybody any knowledge about the plane? By now, more often than not, the students have made a decision. The person who threw it perhaps has made the decision. This is probably better to be gotten rid of now rather than have it hanging over us. And therefore, I find I often get an admission. If I get an admission, I do exactly what I promised I would do. I simply say, please don't do that again. Will you promise me not to throw it again? I'll take your word. If you promise me not to throw it again, I will take no further action. Okay? Fine, off you go. Or no response, in which case the decision is what I said before. You simply say, in that case, next lesson there'll be a change of the seating plan. I will move you around the room. You'll be sitting separately from one another, and you'll be sitting in a place where I can see you more clearly. Obviously, you must realize that now I know that one of you is definitely a liar because you do know something about the plane, because one of you threw it. Or more than one of you are liars because not only did one person throw it, but somebody else perhaps made it, or perhaps you all saw who threw it. So no decision, no change of mind. Okay, in that case, off you go. We'll take this up next lesson. Thank you. The point there is that the teacher should remain calm and in control, present an image of control and calmness to the class at all times, and realize this simple fact. It doesn't really matter who threw the plane. It doesn't have to be resolved there and then. It doesn't certainly have to be the cause of antagonizing other students by being part of some general punishment covering the whole class, and therefore all those other students who actually had nothing to do with it and wish they weren't in a class where people threw paper airplanes. Why should they be punished for the actions of others? This way, the teacher loses no face. The incident usually gets resolved, and if it doesn't, you simply follow through on what you promised, which was to take more account of certain students and to be aware that there are people, some people, few people perhaps, in this particular class that at the moment, today at least, you've not been able to trust. Maybe tomorrow or next week, that situation will change. You now know the group from where the paper airplane was thrown, and you can begin to work on individuals to try to change their attitude towards you. The whole point is that we focus on learning. Thank you.